Hey, welcome back. In this video, I want to show you how you can sync your library of brushes to radials from a custom folder. So not something that necessarily needs to live within the lightbox of the folder in ZBrush. So just to illustrate the point of how this works, I'm using ZBrush 2022, but it works exactly the same in ZBrush 2026. And I'm going to show you the two versions just so that it's very clear, but it's actually the same thing. So let's go ahead and minimize this for a second and go to the RadialZ app. And I'm going to scroll down to the brush library just to show you that we have already synced our library and we have 461 brushes. Those are brushes that are default brushes or brushes that I have set up within that installation folder. So that means that RadialZ will scan through those installation folders of ZBrush of 2022 or 25, depending on the version that you have, and it will synchronize those brushes for you. So in order to see those brushes from the library or from any menu, what we need to do is actually set up a shortcut for our library, and then I will be able to show you that, because right now I don't have any custom menus. So let's go ahead and click on the pop-up library. And this is basically this window right here. This is the library that appears when you press the custom shortcut, and then you can choose and load any brush. This is separate from the radial menus. This is just your entire library of brushes. So that's the reason I want to show you this first. And by the way, this sync library button works exactly the same way, but I will cover this in another video. The main idea is that you have two ways of sync your library, and they work the same. So you can click on the sync library. This is something that I would recommend doing during the setup process anyway, like the first time. But then you can go to the pop-up library and resync it from here. So that's pretty much the reason, but it's exactly the same. So what I want to do is assign a shortcut for this pop-up library. You can assign anything that you want, like Alt-L for library. I actually like to set up mine as Alt-1, just because it is convenient and because I have already set it up in my pen tablet. So Alt-1 is the one that I want to go for. That's it. That's all you need to do from this point. Let's go back into ZBrush. And now let's go ahead and press the Alt-1. And there we go. So here is our pop-up library. So here you see we have all the brushes, and we can go through all the different folders. These are basically the same structure of folders that you will find in the lightbox. The biggest difference, and one of the really big things that I wanted to create, or the reasons I want to create this brush library, is this search functionality. So in here you can type something like standard, and it will get all the standard brushes, or you can type scribe and you get all the scribe brushes, and so on. So and you don't have to write the whole thing. It's dynamic, so it will suggest brushes that start with S and C. So let's go ahead and click on this scribe standard. I'm going to click it once, and it would load straight into ZBrush. Again, just as a reminder, we use in 2022. So I'm kind of like showing you that it works perfectly fine in any version of ZBrush now. So I'll have this, and now I have this scribe brush. Perfect. Now, if I want to load another one, let's bring in the shortcut again. And this time, let's go ahead and find something cool from maybe like an IMM brush here. I'm going to load the IMM train. That will take a little bit longer to load just because it has a bunch of files. Let's select this one, click and drag. Perfect. So everything is working as expected. However, I do have a lot more brushes than the default brushes. But those brushes that I have live in a separate folder. So let's go back in here, and let's go to the ZBrush setup again. And if we scroll down here, you'll have this accordion section that if you click and open, it allows you to select a specific folder where you save your brushes. Now, in ZBrush 2026, there is actually an option to select an asset directory, and you can make that asset directory the same folder, and it will pick up the brushes. But if you are in 2022 or 2025, any prior version of 2026, this allows you to choose a folder where you save all your brushes. And this is something as well that was requested by studios, where they keep things like brushes and resources in a centralized like server or a different folder where all the brushes are. So this is very simple. I'm going to go ahead and click on choose a folder. And for me, it would be on my D drive, resources, ZBrush, all my ZBrush stuff, 2026, right? And it doesn't matter the name, ignore the 2026. This is just where I have the most recent stuff. It's still going to work. And that's it. So I'm just going to leave that folder in there. And you'll see I have, all the folders that are set up in that asset directory. But my brushes live inside the lightbox brushes, and I have all my brushes in here. So I can leave this one as it is, or I can select just my brushes. But let's just, for the sake of demo, go to a folder where I have just brushes, right? And then you see I have subfolders that have the specific custom brushes or the specific packs that I've created. So the bark and wood, the cloth and drapery, that sort of thing. So this is a custom folder. It sits in a different drive altogether. I'm gonna click on use this folder, and now it is in here. Great. So after you choose the folder, what you need to do is you need to resync the library. You can do it from here, or just again, to prove the point that it's just the same thing, it's just more convenient to do it from the library, we're gonna do the resync from the library. So let's go back to the pop-up library. And again, we have 461 brushes. Those are the default brushes that I just, that I already showed you. But we're gonna resync and get the other ones. Now, before I do that, actually, I'm gonna go back into ZBrush, bring in the library, and I'm gonna show you if I select all brushes that the number here says 461. But now let's go back into the setup here, and I'm gonna click on resync library. So now it's gonna go through all of the one, and you see it encountered or it found 1,133 brushes altogether. So this is doing the brushes from the default installation. So it is syncing those again, or knowing what those are, and it's also syncing the custom brushes that I have in my palette. That's it. So I have now 1,133 brushes. So you could do the resyncing here, or you can go to the, like I said, the ZBrush setup and do it as well from here. It will tell you exactly the same information. They're exactly the same thing. It's just that it makes kind of like sense to have it within the pop-up library. All right, so let's go back into ZBrush. Let's press the Alt 1, which in my case is my shortcut. And there you go. So now we have 1,133 brushes to choose from. So if I type something like cloth, and I'll get, oh, sorry, not cloth. Let's type folds. There we go. So we have some folds from my custom set of folds. So I'm just gonna click on these compression folds, and it would be loaded. Let's redynamics with a bit more resolution. And there we go. So we now have the folds working. Let's go ahead and try something else. So you see on the left-hand side, I can filter by the folder. So the digital clay pack, it has, let's remove the search. It has all the clay brushes that I created for that pack. Or if I go to the HR Geiger, I'm gonna load this one. That's just gonna be like a cool, weird looking thing. So I have access to absolutely all my brushes now in the library. And if I know exactly how something is called, let's say I know there is one that I really like called the hollow trim that is from the bark and wood. I'm gonna click on that one to load it. And that is just to create a bit of a hollow section here, which again is good for the bark and wood sort of elements, but it's something that I also use to create like creatures and zombies and stuff like that. Anyway, this is just to show you how to set up the library and how to sync it to a folder or an asset directory that is not the default folder in ZBrush. Now, I did promise that I was going to show you how to set it up in ZBrush 2026, but just a quick note, it is exactly the same process. So you can stick around and watch this part. Otherwise, it's exactly the same if you want to just do it, but in 2026, it will be exactly the same. So I'm going to go ahead and close ZBrush 2022, and I'm going to load up my ZBrush 2026. Here we go. All right. Now, the cool thing about this new version of RadialZ is that the syncing of the library happens outside of ZBrush. In other words, we sync the library to a default folder from RadialZ itself. So it's kind of like its own folder. So that means that without doing anything, without resyncing anything, ZBrush 2026 should pick up the same brushes. So let's give it a go. So Alt 1 to bring in the library. And again, I already had this search. So I'm going to click on this one. And you'll see it just loads it. And then let's actually increase the resolution. We can work with in the same way in 2026 or 2022. All right, so just to show you a couple more, let's go with, let's see. Let's go with this one. This is from the Scale Brushes pack. Just create some nice scales as well. So all the brushes are working. All of them are synced. 1,133 brushes, exactly the same thing. So as I said, the process is exactly the same. Just wanted to show you that it works for 2026 as well as for 22 exactly in the same way. So in terms of the process, there's nothing different that you need to do. In fact, just to show you, I'm going to go back to the pop-up library and I'm going to click on resync. This is basically resyncing everything, but there's really no difference between the versions of ZBrush because the resync is happening to a folder that Radial set up and where basically it keeps the information of your own library. So that concludes this video. Hopefully this has been of help, and I'll see you in the next video where I'm going to show you how to actually set up your first Radial menu.